Jackson Radio Show.
The two sources tell investigators ran Saipov through their databases after the attack, and his name popped in connection to a handful of individuals who are already known to law enforcement as part of a broader terrorism investigation. It's not clear from our reporting this morning whether it was a single case or multiple cases or whether the cases remain open, but Fox was told Saipov had close ties and, quote, the group he ruled with was known to law enforcement before the attack. After an initial review, the evidence points to an ISIS-inspired, not ISIS-directed attack, with the suspect following the ISIS-Al-Qaeda playbook to a T for using vehicles as weapons. Recent online propaganda instructed followers to use trucks, then launch a second attack using knives or guns, and to leave evidence at the scene linking the attack to the terror group, which is what happened in this case. This morning, the Republican chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee was asked about reports he came into the U.S. through a diversity program.
The lottery system, I've always been against it because it's a random system to bring people into the United States. It's not merit-based. Why aren't we, scrutinizing people over there before they can even get into the country with a higher vetting system, putting ICE agents over in consulate and embassy offices?
Source close to the matter says that based on the electronic evidence so far, the suspect was actively searching online for ISIS instructions for using vehicles as weapons. Sandra.
Catherine, has there been a claim of responsibility yet?
Well, there's been no official claim of responsibility through the ISIS media branch known as the Amaq News Service. But it's significant that known ISIS accounts, what counterterrorism analysts call leadership accounts, are applauding the attack, showing photos of the attack, and using an unusual hashtag at the slap of terrorism. We reviewed some of the online translations, and they refer to the ISIS spokesman al-Adnani, who was killed in a 2016 airstrike. And these posts talk about seeking revenge for his death.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. It's amazing what you can glean from things when you don't really know all the information. For example, I knew this was a terror attack by Muslims. You knew it too. We'll get more into that. But I want to talk about what Catherine, I forget her last name, but what she had to say about this attack. She says, number one, this guy was known to law enforcement through a broader terror investigation. Now, recall, I don't know when exactly it was, but it's been a few years back. We were told that we don't know where a lot of the terror suspects that we knew were coming into the country. We don't know where they are. But this guy's known through a broader terror investigation. Which brings me to another point. His mosque was under surveillance in 2005. So let's talk about that. A lawsuit got filed in the district court in Brooklyn by the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, and others. And they maintained that for more than a decade, suspicionless surveillance of Muslims has violated the Constitution and profoundly harmed thousands of people whose names were placed in secret police files. The second, which was filed in Manhattan, said that the spying violated a set of rules known as the Handshoe Guidelines that govern how the police in New York may investigate political and religious activity. The settlement, which is subjected to approval by a judge, or was at the time, required that police obtain factual information about possible unlawful activity before starting a preliminary investigation into political or religious activity, and will limit the police department's use of undercover operatives and confidential informants. Now, I'll put it to you another way. This rule wasn't written for Christians. It wasn't written for churches. It wasn't written for the Tea Party. The spying that police are doing was in conjunction with surveillance of bad guys. And if you were a bad guy and you were doing something through your, let's say your social club, then that's how they did it. They set this thing up because of the conspiracy of mafiosos and people like this. Now, I'm not telling you that the government doesn't stretch this stuff out and say, hey, the Tea Party group should be under surveillance. Surveil us. Surveil the Tea Party. Surveil the church. Bring somebody in, listen to what the pastor says, and you'll hear pastor. I've been going to church for many years, for decades. My pastor, all of them, none of them have ever said, Kevin, you should be radical. This government sucks. No. The Tea Party doesn't say that. The Tea Party is pro-government. We're pro-small government. We're pro-accountable government. We're pro a government that will actually listen to its people and not become a bunch of elitists that feel like they're above the law, which is what we have. But we're not anti-government. Even the use of the term militia. When the government starts fighting against its citizens, you know you've got the wrong type of government. Say the name Tea Party up on Capitol Hill, and you get people, oh, those Tea Party people. The Tea Party people are the best people on the planet. Why do you think I bought Tea Party Community and started that social media firm calling it Tea Party Community, knowing that I'm going to change the way people view those two words, Tea Party? Are you kidding me? Anyway, so this guy's mosque is under surveillance because they believe something's going on. And yet, what happens? He ends up renting a truck and mowing down people. They said, I love this part. For the first time, the watershed settlement put much needed restraints on law enforcement's discriminatory and unjustified surveillance of Muslims. This is what Hina Shimsi, director of the ACLU's National Security Project, said. At a time of rampant anti-Muslim hysteria and prejudice nationwide, this agreement with the country's largest police force sends a forceful message that bias-based policing is unlawful, harmful, and unnecessary. Anti-Muslim sentiment. Let me tell you something. I don't have anti-Muslim sentiment. I have anti-Islamic radical sentiment that happens to include a bunch of Muslims. There's a difference. See, when I see a Muslim, I don't go, there's my enemy necessarily. I say there's somebody that's got a mixed up form of religious ideology. But I don't go, I don't like you. I treat Muslims with the same amount of respect as I treat anybody else. But if I were telling you I don't watch them and pay attention, I'd be lying. I watch every one of those dudes. Women and children, all of them. I watch them. I listen to what they say. I'm very careful about my son and his interaction with him. I make sure he understands what to listen for. I don't tell him to go there biased. My son plays with Muslim kids. The last school he went to, we watched that school go from, I don't know, less than 10% Muslim to 30% in a couple of years. It's crazy how fast they're growing in St. Louis. So this idea that it's an anti-Muslim sentiment is a lie. The Muslims have an anti-American sentiment, and that is a fact. They didn't come here because they love us and they want to embrace our culture. They came here to get our money until they can take over our culture. That's the truth. You can get mad about it. Oh, Kevin, you seem very biased. I'm not biased. I'm just telling you the facts. A forceful message of bias-based policing. Are you kidding? They said the monitoring was extensive. The police identified and mapped more than 250 mosques in and near New York State. Just the fact that there are 250 mosques in or near New York State, to me, is amazing. And you can bet, this report was done in the middle of 2016. You can bet there's a ton more. And get this, though. Of the 250 mosques in or near New York State, they said that 53 of them were mosque of concern. That is 20%, more than 20% of the mosque built in or around New York State are mosque of concern. Think about that. So they're mad because these guys took down license plates. They posted, cameras to watch the people and their interactions. And then what do we get? We get the Boston bombing. We get San Bernardino. We get Pulse nightclub. And you know what's interesting about most of those attacks? They say the same thing. Who knew? Who knew? Who knew that crazy Muslim would do that? I lived right next to him. I had no idea. Well, there was a lady that I heard in that video we played. She's like, I live next door to him. I don't know if you know that. Maybe she didn't say it, but she does. She was his neighbor, the neighbor of this guy that just ran over and killed 8 people. And she didn't know. Who knew? Oh, my goodness. Somebody knew. It should scare you when they say things like this. He didn't fit the profile. Really? He was married. He had 2 kids. He was gainfully employed. Oh, really? But his mosque was under surveillance and he was known to law enforcement. But he didn't fit the profile? And he's a Muslim male.
Kevin Jackson on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.